Doing our lesson today.
I don't know why I have my phone out here. We were looking at something. You're on, baby.
Okay. Oh, I'm on. Good morning, everybody. I'm really glad to see all of you. Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate it. And I'm really honored to be speaking to you today because I get to tell another story about my life. Because that's what this is. It's a story about my life. And all of us have a story. All of us have experienced things that have been challenging and things that have been not challenging. And this is a story that includes both. So I'm going to start by explaining the title of my talk. Because when I was having this great adventure that I had in San Francisco, Michael called me and he said, "Would you speak on August 18th? And I said, "Sure, okay," and hung up. And then a couple days went by and I went, "Oh, okay, what am I going to talk about?" And at this point, I'm at UCSF, which is University of California, San Francisco, the PICU, which is Pediatric Intensive Care Unit. There's a lot of acronyms in the medical world, as anybody who's had experience with the medical world knows, lots of acronyms. In any case, my topic was sitting right in front of me, a 4-year-old boy hooked up to a lot of equipment in the PICU. So this is the story of Owen's kidney transplant. So I asked my niece Jen, the mother who donated the kidney, for permission to tell the story, because it's her story, and I always like to ask permission to tell someone's story, because if it's not my story to tell, I don't tell it without permission. So she said, of course, and I said that the theme for the month was expansion, and she said, well, why don't you call it Expand Your Preconceived Notions? And I said, okay, sent that in a text to Michael, and then the next day I thought, oh, maybe that's a little misleading, because maybe it sounds like if you have preconceived notions that your life isn't going to be good, you're going to make those even stronger. But if you have preconceived notions that your life is going to be magnificent and wonderful, then that works. So we're going to go with, we're all manifesting a wonderful life. We're going to start there. So I'm going to back up my story by saying that when Owen was born on June 22nd, he was taken immediately to the NICU, which is Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, and he remained there for 5 weeks. When my niece was pregnant with him, she found out that both of his ureters were blocked. In a little anatomy lesson, the kidneys are in your back, and then the ureters go down to the bladder with urine, and then you pee it out. Well, because his ureters were blocked, all of the amniotic fluid, which the baby swallowed and then pee out, was in his kidneys. So, not a good thing. And they knew this was going to happen, they were prepared for it. There was a C-section, off he goes. And so when they came home, or actually what the doctors told my niece first was that he's going to have to be on dialysis immediately. He's going to have a transplant by the time he's a year, and none of that happened. And the important thing here is that the doctors thought it would happen, but it didn't. And we're very grateful for that. So as time went on, plans for the transplant were made. And this summer turned out to be the perfect time just for family scheduling, and the doctors said to her, you know, he's doing so well, you really can put this off a little longer. And she said, no, I just feel that we need to do it now. This summer is going to work. Okay. So we made the plans, and I told my sister and my niece Jen that I would be happy to help in any way that I could, whatever needed to be done, and they asked if I would come and stay with them in San Francisco while all this was going on, and I said, of course. And my niece asked me to be her advocate while all this was going on, and that simply means that I remind her, you need to rest now. No, you can't pick up that baby because you have a weight limit of what you can lift now. So just generally reminding her that even though she looked completely normal, she just donated an organ. You know, that's like major surgery. You don't get up and run a marathon after that. You need to really be focused. And of course, her attention was on her son, as it would be for any of us. So one thing that I learned is that when you have a kidney transplant, they only transplant adult kidneys, not pediatric kidneys, because the adult kidney is the size of a large bar of soap. I didn't know that either. So, and they always take the left one because the ureter is easier to remove. Then when they transplant it, it goes, when it's here on Owen now, and it is hooked directly to his aorta, so it gets lots of blood in it because, you know, his little tiny heart doesn't pump as much as Jen's much bigger heart. So that's how that works. And then as time goes on, Jen's kidney's already been through puberty, and so it gets to do it again. So I'm sure that'll be a little pleasurable experience for them. So as we moving along, so when the time came, we all headed to San Francisco, and it was June 26th, and the transplant was scheduled for the 28th. And of course, there's lots of tests that you have to do, lots of things hoops that have to be jumped through before then, and so all of that was accomplished. And on the morning of the 28th, Owen and Jen were on the same gurney, were wheeled down to pre-op and waited, and Owen went in first because his surgery took 6 to 8 hours. It ended up taking 8 hours, and Jen's would take 4. So as a funny little sidebar, the nurse comes to give him the sedative so that he'll not be nervous as he's wheeled into the operating room. And so, it was Versed, I think, I don't know. So he's already has a Broviac catheter. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a direct line into the aorta. Has 2 long lumens that come down, have to be cleaned every day. And my concern was, he's gonna pull on these things, but they taped him to his chest, and he was fine with that. He'd lift his shirt, show anybody his, his catheter, he was real proud of it. So in any case, they put the Versed in, and his little head goes like this. Ah, hi, Mommy. So he was fine then, and Jen could relax, and they took him in, and we all waited and waited and waited, as you do, and then they took Jen in, and we waited and waited and waited. So the doctors came out from Owen's surgery finally and said, it's fine, everything went perfectly, that kidney kicked right in, and there's tears of joy everywhere, and Jen was in recovery by then, and so she knew, so it was a cool thing. And the doctor told us later that necrotic tissue had started to move from the one kidney that didn't work into the intestinal area, so they couldn't wait any longer. I mean, it was a blessing that they did. And so my niece must have listened to her God voice and said, no, this is the time. I know, we're going to do it now. So that was wonderful. Another thing that's interesting about being in the PICU is that there are 3 teams of doctors that come twice a day, and they each have their own opinion about what's important. First, you have the surgeons. You have the surgeon that removed Jen's kidney and ureter, and then you have the surgeon that implanted it in Owen. And they, of course, this is a teaching hospital, so there's teams, and one doctor just doesn't come, they all come en masse. So what's important to the surgeon, he'll look at it and say, oh, that looks great, it's doing well, everything's fine. Then you have the nephrologists, who are the kidney doctors, and they want to know how Jen's feeling, because now she just got 1 kidney, and how Owen's doing. So they have another set of numbers that they look at that are important to them. And then you have the PICU doctors, and they're in charge of the overall care of the patient. So it took us a while to kind of figure out who does what, what's important to who, and so that part was a big learning curve for us. So as time went on, we figured that out. And interestingly enough, the surgeons kept referring to themselves as the plumbers. They call themselves the plumbers. They just go in and take things out, rearrange things, and put it back. I thought, well, that might be the grossest understatement I've ever heard, but there you have it. So, and I realized, and I know that all of us who have had medical challenges, these doctors just have gifts that I don't have. And I am so in honor of their talent and their patience. And the team of doctors who were with Owen for 8 hours, I hope they ate something. I hope they don't have low blood sugar. I hope they're all doing well, Do I need to take them a Snickers or something? But I guess they just planned for that, I don't know. So anyway, they have gifts that I don't have, and I'll be eternally grateful that that all of them were doing what they were doing. So, as religious scientists, we know that we can choose how we're going to live our lives. Every single day we make a choice how we're going to live our lives. And I really believe that little Owen, from the very beginning, knowing what was going on in his body, made that choice. And he really defied the odds because he never had dialysis.
Wow.
Didn't need a kidney transplant by the time he was a year. I knew I was going to cry, sorry. In any case, they call him a miracle baby, and he is a miracle. So, we got to stay in San Francisco for 4 weeks. And has anybody ever lived in San Francisco, in a big city? Okay, I have not. So this is like, I was a country mouse in the city. So this is a wonderful part of the story I forgot to tell you. My sister Ann has taught preschool in Davis for about 100 years. And she had this one family that had 3 boys, and they went through, and a couple of them had some challenges at the age of 3 or 4. And my sister was very helpful to the family at that time. And she said she knew that they had an apartment in San Francisco, and the youngest one is now 12. So it's been a long time since they've been through the school. So she thought, I'm just going to call. So she called, and this lady said, yes, you can use the apartment for as long as you want for free.
Wow.
For free.
Wow.
Now, talk about a prosperity consciousness, because these people own a home in Davis, the apartment in San Francisco, which the husband just uses for business when he's there, a home in London, and a home in Los Angeles. So That's a prosperity consciousness.
Tell them I said hi.
And their youngest son had a recurring role on the Disney sitcom Jessie, which my grandson Cole is in the back, watches all the time. And he just was cast in a sitcom on ABC this fall, and I don't know the name of it, but his name is J.J. Tota. It's hard to forget that. So if you happen to catch that, we were in his apartment while he was in Los Angeles filming the pilot. So there you have it. In any case, I've only been in San Francisco as a tourist and stayed the weekend, maybe 3 or 4 days, and it's different when you're in a hotel than when you're in an apartment. And this is a second floor apartment in Noe Valley, which means nothing to me, but they said it's a nice, I wouldn't know. But it's different being there as just living there, because there's no yards. It's not you open the front door and there's the sidewalk, and yes. So the nice thing is you can walk to the corner store if you need milk or bread. That's like 2 minutes away, and so that was pretty interesting just to experience that. And when we first were there and kind of finding our way from the apartment to the hospital, I was following my brother-in-law and sister. My brother-in-law was driving and I was behind them, and we happened to be on Castro Street. And I'm looking around, wow, look at all this. This is so colorful. Look at all these interesting people. We're at the red light. I'm looking around and, oh, look at that really tan bald man over there. Wow, he's really tan. I'm looking at him and I went, oh, he's wearing one sock. And that's all he's wearing. And it's not on his foot. I could not get my phone out fast enough to the light turned green. So I guess I'm not in Chico anymore. You just don't see that anywhere. Okay, so where I'm in my story, let's see. Okay, I kind of got ahead of myself. Okay, so after Owen's surgery and everything was fine, he was taken back to the PICU. And he was supposed to be there 2 days. Well, he was there for 7. There were complications. First, they thought the kidney's not working right. Then they used the R word, rejection. All kinds of stuff was going on. And again, all these teams of doctors would come in and everyone had their opinion. And here's little Owen in the bed with all these monitors and things and nurses and beeping equipment. And whenever he got scared in the hospital, they have those, I think you're supposed to throw up at him. It's like a little pink thing, and anyway, you know what I'm talking about? So we'd pick it up and put it over his lower mouth, and he'd look around like this. So he's kind of hit, so like that. That was when we knew he was scared. So that came out a few times, but we got through it. And he also loved the movie, the Smurf movie. Has anybody ever seen this Smurf movie? Those little blue Smurfs. It's adorable. It's a great movie. Oh, my grandson Cole's raising his hand in the back. The Smurf movie was on loop all the time. We could not turn it off. Has Neil Patrick Harris in it, and that cute girl from Glee, and all these little Smurfs. Katy Perry's the voice of Smurfette. It's a cute movie, but after about 17,000 times of watching it, I was kind of over it. But it had to be on loop. Sometimes he could have the sound down, but that movie had to be on. So I guess we all take comfort wherever we find it. For whatever reason, the Smurfs were comforting him. So there you have it. So, back to the complications. I won't give you all the details, but I have to admit that it was a difficult time for all of us. And when you're in the hospital, as many of you know, it's always about the effect, because that's what the doctors are dealing with. They're dealing with the effect. And that's what they're paid to do, and that's what their gift is. But there's also, as we know, the cause. Yeah. And so I got stuck in the effect for a while, because I was frightened. And we've all been frightened in our life, and I was stuck. So my sister and Ann and I kind of did a few mental smacks, and got back to business. So I thought, how can we help? What can we do? How can we just cheer this kid up? So music and lyrics by me, I made up a song. And I called Diana last night, and she said we could sing it together. So we're going to sing the kidney song for you. Picture 3 grown women in the PICU singing the song.
Okay, I may not have all the moves down, but I'm working on it. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You ready? 1,
Wait.
2.
Now I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I love my kidney and my kidney loves me. Woo! I love my kidney and my kidney makes pee. Woo! I love my kidney and my kidney loves me. Woo! I love my kidney and my kidney makes pee. Woo! Big finish! Yay! Oh yes, we sang that a lot. And so I would find him. He'd just kind of look and he'd be humming. He'd just be humming it. So it was a treatment for a 4-year-old. That made him laugh, and it was in his subconscious mind, and he would just sing it to himself, and occasionally the 3 of us, my sister and Jen, would just burst out and sing it for him, and he'd laugh, and so there you go. So I'd like to say that the kidney song is what did it, but I think that it was Owen's doing. So in any case, one day, as the doctors got a little nervous about the numbers, there was blood in the urine. Everybody's terrified about that, blood in the urine. Shortly after that, no blood in the urine output's good, everything looks good, going to be transferred to a regular room. Happy day. There's less beeping stuff, it's wonderful. So while we're in the room, his numbers start going up. Now, for those of you who don't know about kidneys, which I didn't, how you measure a kidney function is by creatinine levels in the blood. And creatinine is what the kidney puts out, and that tells you how well the kidney is removing toxins from your body. So normal range is 0.4 to 0.8. Owen's worst was like 5 point something, and that's end-stage renal failure, which is what they labeled him in from the moment he was born. So the numbers were climbing. They were at 1.5 when the transplant happened, and then they went up, 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 and they hovered in the 2 range for a couple of days. We were nervous. So I remember in the middle of the night, my sister Ann and I were at the apartment, and Jen was staying with Owen, because either my sister or Jen stayed with him every night. He was never alone in any room he was ever in, ever, ever. So we got a call about midnight from Jen that the nurse had the latest lab report, and it was 0.55.
Oh.
Happy day. So we rushed to the hospital the next morning, big celebration. Well, in comes one of those many teams of doctors, and this time it's the nephrologist. And the head guy says, you know, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but those results were a fluke. That is not possible. That has never happened. And I've been practicing medicine for how many years? And my sister just looked at him and said, we'll see about that. So the doctors leave, continue their rounds, and about 20 minutes later, the nurse sticks her head back in the door and she says, you were right, Grandma. The latest creatinine is 0.45. Happy day. So I said to my sister, you can't do the neener dance to the doctor. You know, you can't do that. So sure enough, about an hour later, back come the doctors, and they're kind of kicking their toe on the carpet. We're really sorry about that. You know, this is unheard of. They're scratching their head. This never happens. It usually does a stair-step thing like this. And my sister stands up and says, just never underestimate the power of prayer and positive thinking. I said,
Wow.
don't be too smug, Ann. Don't be too smug. So in any case, things were just wonderful from then on, and the numbers been steady ever since, and he was discharged from the hospital and got to go to the apartment where he got to play his beloved drums. He's an avid drummer. I forgot to mention that my niece has, when she had Owen, already had a 2-year-old. So she was one busy lady. So when Owen was just about a year, just walking, she got Emma a $5 set of drums from a garage sale. And Emma went, I don't think so. And Owen crawled over to them and started pounding on them. He's been drumming ever since. And my brother-in-law bought him an electric drum set, an adult electric drum set, and he can play those things. I have a video on my phone, and I'm so sorry that I couldn't download it from my phone to the computer, to a flash drive so we could show it, but it's on my phone. If anybody wants to see it, you can see it. So he's just the avid drummer playing away, and what a great way for a 4-year-old to get their aggressions out. A couple times I thought, I don't want to play those things. I ain't play those things. But in any case, we're at the hospital, and home from the hospital, and it was just a wonderful time. And so we had bought a stroller for walks, because you have to walk everywhere, and so we'd go in the stroller, and it was a great time. And now I have to tell you that when I first agreed to do this with my family, I thought, what do I want to do here? How am I going to do this? Because there's going to be lots of opinions flying around, lots of family members and fun and dysfunctional kind of things could be flying. So what is my role going to be in this? And I thought, my role is going to be in service. So that means if somebody asks me to go to the hospital cafeteria and get Jell-O and Cheetos, I'll go do it. If somebody asks me to schlep 5 black trash bags of laundry to the laundromat and do the laundry, I'll do it. And I did that. I did all these things. If somebody asked me to cook dinner and do the dishes, I'll do it. And I did all that stuff, and I was in service. And I felt good that I was doing the one thing that I could do. I couldn't give a kidney, couldn't do any of that stuff, but I could be in service and help. So that's what I did. So, where am I in my little story here? Oh, okay. So, in closing, I want to share a few things with you. I don't know about you, but I feel like Friday night is a great night. It's the end of the week. And if you've worked all week, it's nice. Maybe you're going to go out to dinner with a friend or see a movie or whatever you're going to do on Friday night that's fun for you. So I always like to have words for a song when I end this stuff. So I'm going to share these words from a song with you. I want to be your Friday night sweet ride, summertime sunshine, barefoot in the moonlight. I want to be your jackpot hotspot, wide open road and a candy apple rag top. Who doesn't want to do that? I want to set you free. I want to take you high. I want to be your Friday night. That is from the song Friday Night by Eric Pasley. I Googled it yesterday so I had all the words. And he has red hair. My niece Jen has red hair. How odd was that? So in any case, I just believe that everyone involved in that transplant was Owen's Friday night. Whether it was the doctors, the nurses, anybody who was there was their Friday night. So I want to thank you for being here today. And I know that God is blessing each one of you as you travel this journey called your life.
Oh.